killing it.
Welcome back to WAM, y'all.
Here we go. How y'all doing?
We've been on a 2-week hiatus. We had a wonderful show at the Highland Park Bowl. And after that, we also, and our video's out.
And our video's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's what the show is all about, really, is premiering our music video for Killing It, the song that you just heard a little bit of. So go check out our video on our channel. It's called Killing It, like I already said. Like to be nice and redundant here. And yeah, the show went really great. Let's talk about the show. It really did. We played with High Sunday. They opened up the night. There was a fun little bat mitzvah going on.
Wedding-themed bat mitzvah.
Wedding-themed?
That's what the theme was.
It was? I didn't catch that. Oh, geez.
And I was like, that is interesting.
Why would you make...
At a bowling alley.
Why would you make a bat mitzvah wedding-themed?
Because they get to choose their theme.
I mean, is there anything like... Oh, maybe... a bat mitzvah is a coming of age, right?
Right,
like,
when you're 13.
Right. Like, you are now a woman.
Mm-hmm. And you get
at
to
13, you're now a
read
woman.
from the Torah. Yeah.
It's a very old
ancient
way of thinking.
Some might say. Yeah. So you celebrate that.
Yeah.
However, this child decided to make it wedding themed. Which I couldn't understand, which to me means they wanted people to dress up, maybe. But
I guess. Why not just say it's black tie? Or something like.
So curious. So that was going on during our show.
Well, I mean, is there anything
main
about
event?
Is a bat mitzvah? Does that have like traditionally? Is that like the day a woman is promised to a man or anything like that? No, there's nothing like that. No. Like I didn't know if there's anything.
Just a random, some guys, some bar mitzvahs. They're like, I want a dinosaur themed or rock and roll or whatever.
Sure.
And this kid was like, no, I want wedding.
Wedding
I want
is
opulence.
Just an interesting
I want
choice.
So they rented out the entire back part of the Highland Park Bowl, which
was a little bit of a bummer because then we couldn't actually go to the bowling alley.
Get the people in from the bowling alley also and play bowling.
It was fun to kind of pretend at the beginning when there was a line of 13-year-old girls like that they were all there to see our show like we were a fucking Beatle or something. But
no. They did not watch the music. So, that was fine. We did start 2 hours after our schedule because of their speeches.
They need to give speeches.
It was kind of an odd night, to be honest, but at the venue. However, our sound guy,
right, Alan,
was so solid, so rockin'.
Super cool.
He literally helped us grab the drum kit from our drummer's car.
He actually helped load gear
and load in. That was 2 blocks away.
That might be the first and only sound guy that I've ever had offer to do that.
Incredible. Yeah, he was a homie. Alan, dope, dude. Thank you. High Sunday started us off. Absolutely rocked the fucking house.
Perfect way to start the night.
Had so much fun listening
to
that.
Energy.
Yeah, in that way. And that was definitely the biggest sound I've seen him on stage with.
Yeah, that was great.
That was really fun.
And then we went on. We played our video first, and that
went well.
Great.
And then we played our show, and surprisingly, we packed the room. Kind of
it was pretty.
People came off the
there.
street to come in and see what was up.
We got a lot of people who had never seen us before, come up and get our information, make sure that they were following us and stuff.
I anointed everyone in that venue with the spirit of rock and roll.
Yeah.
And after we played and we were driving away, there were 10 people on the corner in Highland Park that were at our show. And they saw us in the car and they started going, "We are makers! We are makers!"
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
And we were like, "We've made it. These 10 people on the side of the road have recognized us in Highland Park. Wow."
No.
So that was fun. However,
And, well, let's not leave out Blood Wisdom closed the night, which was also
this
really
guy's
fucking...
performance.
Dude, this
Holy
guy
shit.
knows how to
Work a fucking room.
work a crowd, work
Yeah,
a room.
I'll say
for
that.
sure.
It definitely reminded me of the Mormons. You know that punk
Well,
band?
when he was like crawling around
Yeah.
and stuff, yeah. Like,
The Mormons would do that.
the
They would like
Mormons
roll
know how to-
themselves up in the carpet.
right.
On the
The sound was
stage.
not really like the Mormons at all.
No,
but,
no,
like,
no. Very Stooges sounding.
Stooges, who am I? Alice Cooper
Oh.
vibe, yeah, for sure. Like,
Oh, yeah.
really, really, really good. So check out Blood Wisdom.
And
check
he's
out High
such a
Sunday.
sweetie, too.
Yeah, and he's a really nice guy. So check out Blood Wisdom. Check out High Sunday. Follow them.
Absolutely.
And yeah, thank you guys for playing with us.
Yeah, that was actually so fun. And it just felt so good to be on a stage, out and about, and hang out with other musicians and sound guys and, you know, all the artists that come in those spaces.
Yeah, it was great.
I miss that a lot. And,
And special thanks to our cast that was able to make it. We love you guys.
Quick
How'd that
change.
happen? Magic.
We also got haircuts. What's up? So, you know, we look super fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Shout out to Amelia and whoever cut your hair.
Somebody at Floyd's.
Thank you. What else? So we did some self-care. We zhuzhed ourselves.
Yeah.
And what else have we been doing in our 2 weeks? I feel like we've been pedal to the metal and we haven't stopped.
Yeah. What have we? I mean, been working a lot. We got a trip to Universal Studios coming up that we'll tell you about this. We are going this coming Tuesday to Universal Studios. Special thanks to Cade for hooking us up with that. That was
so excited.
So exciting. But in the meantime, some things that we actually wrote a little thing of some things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
today.
We're playing with our format here. We're playing with our framing.
Yeah, we're
playing with how we actually want to move forward with this podcast, what we want to talk about. So we have some structure.
So something that we watched recently, and so we get pretty obsessed with cult documentaries and things, and we watched the Nexium one. We've watched a bunch of stuff on Scientology. If you don't think that's a cult,
yeah,
it's a fucking cult. Yeah. So if you're a Scientologist out there, and I feel very sorry for you. So sorry if they're insulted by this.
Actually, I hope you're
care.
insulted, and I hope you look at what's going on.
Don't worry, I'll say the same thing about Catholicism. You know, you're all fucking crazy. But though, what is really interesting about the one that we watched recently is that this is a cult that's happening right now, and we're watching it happen in this doc as they're making a documentary about it, and it's real fucking interesting. And the leader of this cult is named Teal Swan, if you're unfamiliar.
Yeah, Teal Swan, I've been following her for years, honestly. And I only see her pop up on like kind of like TED Talks and stuff. She does like public speaking, that's all self-help and so on and so forth.
So many of these
healing and so whatever. However,
as so many of these start as like a self-help kind of thing, you know, it seems like a positive thing. I've even seen a few clips of her talking about something that I completely agree with. There was one, I think the first thing I ever saw of her was her talking about the fervor method when it comes to raising babies, which is an old idea of when babies cry, you just let them cry themselves to sleep and don't try and comfort them or anything. And we're talking babies, not children.
Infants.
Babies.
Yeah.
That you just let them cry and eventually they'll learn to comfort themselves, which...
Or self-soothe.
Self-soothe, which is just ridiculous when you think about it. It's like it's a baby. Like
they don't have those processes yet.
You need to soothe the baby so they learn how to comfort themselves. They're not, and what more is your job as a parent when raising a baby than to comfort your baby that's that's upset,
That needs soothing.
I
don't know.
That just got thrown into this world and has no idea what the fuck's going on. Like, how lazy of a parent do you have to be to just let your baby cry? Like, itself to sleep.
I don't know if lazy is the right term. I think unchecked.
I'm sure I'm pissing off tons of parents right
totally,
now.
Yeah. So let me address this. One, I think it's a lack of intelligence on what to do, right? They've been told, or that was how it was done for them, and they're getting the information from their family or whatever. Like, oh, that's what I did for you. It's fine. Or they're trying to do the right thing. They're confused, and this is the information they're getting. Or C, they're just doing abandonment. Like, but I think that window of abandonment, they're doing that intentionally because they don't give a fuck, is a lot smaller than the misinformation.
Right.
Of, oh, I thought this was what you're supposed to do. And parenting's hard because there's no.
Of course, I'm not saying that parenting isn't extremely difficult. And yes, no, I don't have children of my own.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, the fervor method is not a great model. If so, do your research on that. But essentially, what it's teaching is, or what it's telling parents to do, is let your baby figure out how to self-soothe when they don't have those processes ready to do that, because they're infants and their minds haven't developed enough to do that.
Right.
So they're relying on you to regulate their emotional state. And when you remove yourself from that, they go into a state of panic, and then that's wired in.
Right.
Which is shitty. But she was talking about this fervor method.
Right. That was one of the first things that I saw her talking about, and making a extremely good point that I agree with. Everything. So that was like my first introduction to her. I didn't even realize like that she had this like whole self-help, quote unquote, self-help cult thing going on. Yeah,
she definitely is akin to like an Esther Hicks or something like that. That's another. Abraham Hicks is a whole world of self-help, spiritual, who I also used to really love and follow. However, what I'm noticing in these arenas where people come to speak to thousands of people who are in a traumatic state, in the same way they would do like a TED Talk, but they're trying to actually work through trauma, but only with one person on stage so people can relate, is a real great window to brainwashing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's definitely, I'm seeing these people that I really loved and or admired what they were doing. And now I'm seeing, unfortunately, the dark side of what that actually is. And it's fucking crazy. Teal Swan, whoa.
Ooh.
There's so much, oh man, darkness. There's a lot of darkness. And it's unchecked power. Essentially, what we're seeing is she's in a dom position, and she is dominating in these retreats as a spiritual guru, right? She's coming in, she's saying, this is how it is. You're going to have to go through this. It's going to be really intense and really hard. And that's just how it is. So these people feel like they need to do that. And they also are starting to feel like the only way they can do that is in her presence at this retreat. So it's a slippery slope.
I think somebody pointed out that, and this is like really common in like the cult culture, is that like the outside bigger circle of people that are at like these conferences and things like that, that's a pretty much like a self-help group. But the inner circle that like lives on the property with her and things is a much smaller group that does these like kind of small group retreats. That is where like the cult following is, and that's
Yeah,
kind of
that's
how
where
it
it
always starts, right? You know,
Exactly.
you got to have your 12 apostles. You gotta
Also, it's separating the cream from the crop, right? Like, who is really going to follow every word I say
Right.
as gospel? And, you know, in masser or in a larger mass of people, that might not be
Yeah.
the case.
Well, it's
But once you refine them and pull them away from that big group,
right, and clearly it's like who are really probably the most intelligent out of the followers of hers. Are they the people that don't think for themselves at all, that aren't going to ever question her, you know, or I mean, only the only people that get brought into the smaller circle are, I don't know any better way of saying this, probably weak-minded people that can be easily be manipulated.
I would say extremely vulnerable people that are looking to belong.
That's a much nicer way of saying
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're either they've been through a lot of trauma, because that's number one, the people she's pulling. The people she's pulling are people that are in such duress emotionally that this is their last bastion, which is a really intense area to like hold space for. However, she doesn't do it with grace. She doesn't do it with I would say in a really conscious way of looking at this person, what state they're in. Okay, what do they actually need? She's just saying, this is what I believe. And if you could believe this or not. And if not, then you're fucked. And if so, then you're fucked too.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think that's what you should be telling people in these really emotionally vulnerable states that are coming to you as their God.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's
seems.
You see her get challenged in like, I think it's the first episode, actually. There's like,
Oh yeah, all of them. Every single episode, there's a challenge in it. Someone challenges her.
Not quite like the guy who does in the first one, but right,
yeah, that was
like
a good one.
says something to her to the extent of like,
who checks you?
Yeah, who's checking you? Who's making sure that who's questioning you and making you think about the decisions that you make? And she comes up with some kind of bullshit analogy of like, you know, if we were going to I forget what it was, but basically like if we were going to talk to everyone in the world and there was one guy, we realized that one guy knew everything there was about cars, would you ask anybody else about your car? Like, it was an analogy like that, you know. And it's like, okay, but
I think the analogy was
would
like,
you ask who's checking him on his knowledge about cars?
right.
And so when we know that he is the one that knows everything about cars.
Essentially, like, would you question Jesus?
Yeah.
Would
you question God?
End message.
Which
really
was a dumb point that he should have immediately just said, like, okay, but we haven't talked to everyone in the world.
Right.
So what makes you the person that knows everything about these subjects? It is just her opinion, actually. She just has this opinion of herself that she's figured it all out.
Absolutely. Well, and that is echoed around her.
Oh,
because she
right.
has these disciples that they literally sign a contract saying, our whole life is to serve you.
Yeah. Do not question Teal.
We don't have a personal life anymore. My life is for this now. This bigger purpose. So to have a position of power where no one questions your authority, or no one can question your authority or challenge you, is a real big red flag, especially around spirituality and something we were talking about. Why is it so bad when it's spirituality? Like, politics is one thing, fame is another. when you couple it with the faith or belief of something even bigger than politics, fame, this, that, the other thing. And now this person is your gateway to that. And they're not getting checked at all. And whatever they say goes. Woo.
Right.
That ain't good, y'all.
Yeah, that's just going to lead down a dangerous path, towards...
Trigger warning.
I guess one of the biggest issues that other people have with her is that she's kind of like an encourager of suicide in a way, because she believes in past lives and she believes in reincarnation, and in some ways almost says like, oh, if your life sucks, then
just kill yourself and then reset.
Like not quite in that simple of terms. She doesn't phrase it that way, but
pretty close.
Yeah.
So with that idea is, and these people are in really hard places coming to you and bearing their soul, and you say that, and they don't have an outlet for help. You're the outlet for help, and you're saying, get the fuck out of here. That ain't good.
Yeah, she kind of has this weird tough love approach to life. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Really, the best way I could describe it is, we just watched a documentary about like going through the Matrix, like life's Matrix.
Yeah, we talked about that last
time. The glitch,
time.
Right? Glitch in the Matrix. It reminds me of that kid who killed his whole family because he thought it was just a Matrix, that everything would reset. It's not really real. And I feel like she bridges on that of like,
right.
Oh, well, whatever. If this is going wrong, then just reset. It's fine. And to say that is really crazy, in my opinion, to give that. Well, and it reminds me of that, like, oh, you're kind of disillusioned.
Well, right. I mean, like, even if reincarnation is real, even if this is all a virtual simulation, essentially, it's like that doesn't change the fact that this life is a reality of some sort that you are living and have right now. So, why aren't you trying to live it the best way that you can? If you're going to reset at the end of this, then live this one out and reset then. Like, what,
I guess it's just talking to people and feeling, some people in immense pain or duress or had just been tortured their whole lives or whatever, and they're like, I want to get the fuck out of here.
I guess what's frustrating to me is the idea of knowing. It's just like any other religion, like, who are you to say that you know what it is? We could all have these ideas, sure, like of a virtual reality, of a matrix or whatever, and reincarnation in an afterlife like heaven or hell or whatever. We could all have these ideas, but and believe in them, but to say that and that you should, and to encourage other people or tell other people that this is how you live your life because I know that's what comes after it. The ego that you have to convince yourself that for a fact when you don't know for a fact. Mm-mm. You don't. Like, nobody does.
And anybody that says they do is a red flag, and that's.
You could say, I believe this way, or I believe in this, or I have a feeling about this, or however you want to phrase it. But to say that is just a lie.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's been really interesting. I encourage everyone to watch Teal Swan's documentary, which she has not been PRing at all because she knows it's really bad.
Yeah, because it's making her look bad.
But Yeah, check it out. It's on Netflix or Hulu. I forget which one.
Speaking of great powers and great responsibilities, another thing that we were watching and a friend sent us on a video. Maybe we'll link the video that she sent us because it was really well done. But it was talking about the Illuminati and Bilderberg, the Bilderberg Corporation or meeting that gets held every year, and this is something that like I've talked about for a long time. You know, like with the idea of the Illuminati, that the Illuminati exists, just not the way that like we all that the conspiracy theorists say it does. You know, it's not literal lizard people that are meeting in a cave in robes and worshiping an owl or whatever, and whatever. If like ridiculous
what
things.
It really is.
It's the people in power that are right in front of our faces. I mean, it's the 1%. It's the corporations. It's the CEOs and owners of banks and major media corporation outlets and there is a meeting like that happens every year called the Bilderberg
for the past 68 years.
68 years. And it's a meeting of elites and high ups, 1%ers that get together and talk about the world in a way that is not disclosed to the people,
so they could speak freely.
About like what their plans. What it really sounds like is that it's a place for all these 1%ers to get together and meet each other in the
help
businesses that who might otherwise not meet, but then like can get together, speak freely about things, team up and build some new corporation that in their eyes they're doing to help and better the world, you know,
quote
unquote, you know, whether that's really happening or not. I mean, it's a matter of opinion. I mean,
the reality is we don't know shit of what they're discussing inside. We do have a highlight of what they discuss that they post on their website.
Right. They post their discussion topics.
Their topics. That's it. However, we don't know what is being said behind closed doors. And this is my theory is, one, the shit they're talking about is like population, healthcare, things like this, that they're discussing death, in my opinion. They're discussing like that's what doesn't need to be leaked, quote unquote, to cause mass hysteria. In my opinion, again, I think they're talking about these topics that have to do with humans, but masses, but they're not being looked at as humans. They're looked at as a herd,
as cattle and stuff. I mean,
right.
like that's they are meeting to discuss how to make the world a better place, but a better place for who?
Right. Sure.
They're looking to make the world a better place for them. Just as most people are. Like, you know, people are always looking out for number one, right? Like they're like, it's just kind of how the world is. There are occasionally people who are trying to make the world a better place for all of us, but
those
that's
are
not
few and far between.
And especially people with power. You know, it's not very often.
Well, their disassociation from the mass reality kicks in. You know, they're on a different platform now, so they're not dealing with the same problems. Their problem is like, okay, how do I service my Tesla better? Like, I don't have a lot of dealerships around me. How do I get that there? And things like that. We were also talking about
gentrification. I'll do it. Gentrification.
That's it. And how that is not a solution. And a lot of people look at it like, oh, thank God that bad neighborhood's finally getting flipped. And now it's going to be a good neighborhood and there's going to be an Erewhon. And what this is actually doing is displacing communities that have been there, and it's not actually helping that community. It's not healing that community that was there before. It's not healing the wounds or whatever was there before. It's literally saying, fuck you guys, get out of here. We're coming in and we're going to make this way better.
Right.
And you guys aren't invited back, by the way.
It's not as simple as like, is gentrification good or bad? It's like, who is it good for? Who is it bad for? You know, the people that were already in that area, the lower income people that where was all they could afford, that when things start being built up, I mean, it's good for the people that are moving into that area, that have more money, that are of like a higher money making bracket and
class system,
a higher class system or whatever. Yeah, it's good for them to like move into an area, or it's good for other people in that area that also are of that class system to have more people of that class system moving in, because they're putting more money into that area. They're landscaping the area. There's businesses coming in. It's like, yeah, that's great. It's
and
great
no
that
fast food.
Right. It's great that there's an Erewhon in the neighborhood now for them, because they can afford that. But people that were in that area that couldn't afford better, who couldn't afford more, it's not good for them. They can't afford to shop at Erewhon. Like,
this is something I've been talking to a lot of people about, going back to fast food.
Mm-hmm.
People, I forget where we went. I think it was like Santa Maria or something, a really beautiful wine country town on the coast. And when we were driving around, we were like, wow, there's no Taco Bell, there's no McDonald's, there's no nothing. That's so crazy. And I think we did see one fast food restaurant, but it was so unnoticeable because they had to kind of hide their exterior that we were like, wow, that's so interesting. However, this is a symbol of like, there are no poor people here, is really what it's saying. Because these places, as much as we hate McDonald's, as much as we hate Burger King and Del Taco and all these other things, they feed most of our population because it's so cheap. And until we can fix our food and what is being offered to our mass population so it can be better for everyone, those places need to be there, or else they cannot fucking eat, or their ability to feed themselves, it drops dramatically. So there's just a lot of, it's not just aesthetic, you know, which is something we all get caught up in, especially in Los Angeles. It is pillars for other systems to work. And until we have those other systems and outlets, we need these things. We need low-income areas. We need low-income housing. We need cheap food, access to cheap food, and things so on and so forth, which we do not like to do. We rather gentrify and blind ourselves to that. And we're seeing that these people are gathering in parks now. Entire families are displaced because they have nowhere to go, because it's too expensive.
And you'll get the woke liberal, as they say, like saying, homelessness is such a problem. We got to do something about the homeless. Okay, let's build low income housing. Well, where's that going to be? Is that going to be near my neighborhood? Oh, well, let's not put it there.
Right. Yeah. This is actually happening to my parents right now. My parents, across the street from them, they are getting a homeless shelter that, is helping people get back on their feet, get food, a place to sleep, take a shower, things, so on and so forth.
And people in the area want to move.
And people in the area want to move because this is what I figured out. Once that is in the area and established, all of the property value goes down.
Right.
So it's not really that thing being there. It's that thing being there
is going to make my house worth less.
The prosperous.
Not worthless, but worth less.
Worth less, yeah. The prosperity around that goes down, which is shitty, but that's the reality. That's what happens. So I don't know how to help this. Obviously, there's lots of brilliant minds working on this right now, but it is for sure an issue, and I'm also seeing how it's an issue. Before, I guess I wasn't privy to that.
Well, it's just so much more complicated than just
it's complicated.
Than just, oh, we need more housing for homeless people, as like just that question right there like leads to so many other things because while people want everybody to have a place to live, ideally, like I think most people are good-natured on a surface level, at least, where of course everybody should have enough to eat and enough and a place to live and everything. Okay, if we do something as a society for that, well, what's that going to do to my property and my place to live?
That's where
it's an immediate fear of like, that might push me down the
class
ladder to now I'm closer to that homelessness population. And,
oh shit, this goes full circle about what we were talking about when people literally turn a blind eye to the homeless people in the street. They like don't recognize them because they feel like if they recognize that, they have to then look at themselves and go, oh my God, am I close to this?
Mm. Well, I think
that makes me feel uncomfortable.
I think there's a question that goes on whether people are fully conscious of it or not, of like, oh, if I try and help this person, that might be less that I have. If I give this person that has so little some of what I have, then that means that I have less, and then I'm
basically at the same level as them now.
Yeah, and I'm going to be dropping down, and so that's the fear that's going on in your head. That's what makes people hesitate and stop. I mean, I've heard plenty of people like say before, like, oh, I never give anybody. I'll give homeless people like my leftovers or something, but I'll never give them. I don't know
that they don't want to give them money because they think they're going to buy drugs or they're going to do this or that or the other thing instead of.
Yeah, I think that kind of play. I don't know if that's really what concerns people. I think like I wonder sometimes when people say that, like, is that really what your concern is? Are you really trying to stop somebody from doing more drugs or spending that $5 that you might give them on the street on a bottle of liquor or something like that? Like, is that really what's stopping you, or is it a fear that if you give them some of your money that you're going to have less?
I think it's that.
Yeah.
I think it's that. It's a tricky slope, and it's definitely a psychological thing. But do we have the most homeless people that we've ever had now in America, or has there been a past time where we've had this many?
I don't know.
People?
I see so many conflicting statistics and things. I think there are more homeless people in the world now than ever before, but we also have more people in the world than ever before. And I think as a population percentage, I think it's actually less than what it has been in the past. I think percentage-wise, we have less homeless compared to how many people we have in the world. But as an actual number, they're...
Interesting. Okay, because the population has grown.
Right.
However, the ratio hasn't really changed that much.
No, I think the ratio's gotten better. Like
that's surprising.
That there's less homeless to non-homeless or houseless, as they.
Yeah, houseless. That's interesting. Okay.
Right.
Wow. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up, y'all. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's WAM podcast.
Yeah. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
You're killing it.